Hello, and today we're going to be looking at Chapter 1, Unit 1, People in Business on the Leaving Certificate syllabus. My name is Melanie, and I am a Business Studies Grinds teacher, and I'm also a secondary school teacher. The main outcomes for this class are that you, as the students, will be able to explain the main stakeholders involved in a business, describe the different relationships that might exist between different stakeholders that are affected by a business. And you're also going to analyze the relationship between the different stakeholders in a business. So the word stakeholder is a word that we use a lot in business, but you wouldn't be using it in your everyday English vocabulary. So we're going to look at that in more detail. But first, we're going to look at two important definitions for Unit 1, and these definitions will be used throughout the course. And it's important to understand the difference between the two main types of businesses within the Irish economy. So you have the commercial business, and a commercial business can be defined as an organization that sells goods and services to customers for a profit. So the key word there is it's for a profit. It's a commercial business. It's operating for a profit. And an example would be Dunnes Stores. Other examples could be Tesco, Pennies, um, Currys providing IT. You'd have Vodafone providing a service. But these commercial businesses are there providing a good or service for a profit. What's a non-commercial business? Well, a non-commercial business, in other words, not-for-profit business, is an organization set up to provide a service or product for various members of the community. Profit is not the main goal. The main aim is to serve a need in the community. So these businesses are set up in order to address a need in society, in Ireland, or in the wider world. And it's to provide a service or a product to members of the community that may not be able to provide that product for themselves. And it's usually provided free of charge or at a small fee. But profit is not the main aim. The main aim is to serve in the community. An example would be the GAA. Can you think of any other non-for-profit organizations? Yeah, Focus Ireland is another one. It provides services for the homeless or the rehab group. And sometimes you might, even as a student, get involved in some volunteer activities. And any money that you collect, you would then give and donate to that non-commercial business. So it's really important to have a very clear understanding between commercial businesses and non-commercial businesses and be able to write a clear definition. So stakeholders, this is another word that we're going to be using quite a lot throughout the Leaving Cert syllabus. What is a stakeholder? Well, a stakeholder, it's not to have, the Irish flag on. It's in the world of business. The definition is individuals, group, or organizations which are affected by the policies and actions of a business. So you could see there, you have a little coffee shop, and maybe you have one similar in your neighborhood. Who would be the stakeholders involved in that coffee shop? Would you like to pause the video and write down as many stakeholders as you can think of? So coming off the top of my mind, I would think of maybe the entrepreneur that set up the coffee shop, and maybe the employers and the managers that run the coffee shop, and employees, customers. Can you think of any other further stakeholders? Well, finally, we'll go through these stakeholders together. So the first one that we have here is an entrepreneur. So an entrepreneur spots a gap in the market and will take personal or financial risk to make a profit. So the personal risk, maybe it's reputation or their time. Their financial risk, maybe money. but they spot a gap in the market and they want to make a profit. So, for example, going back to the coffee shop, they might live in a very affluent area and decide to set up a specialty coffee shop in that area. They think that would be very profitable. Who are the investors? An investor is also a stakeholder in a company. They give capital to fund a business in exchange for a return on their investment. So this can be quite risky. They give capital and they might not, they might have to wait for a return on their investment. But what they're looking for is a return on the money that they give, along with a share in the profits. So that's a lot better for that investor to invest in a good investment rather than just keep his money in the bank. An employer. An employer hires employees to carry out work and pays them wages. An employee is paid a wage or salary to carry out work for their employer. A manager runs a business for the entrepreneur. So an entrepreneur will maybe he's somebody who's innovative, he's a risk taker, he's driven. Maybe he wants to continue to grow that business, but he wouldn't be as interested in the day-to-day running of the business. So in that situation, they will hire a manager to run the day-to-day running of the business for the entrepreneur. A producer manufactures goods from raw materials, combining the factors of production. So again, in the coffee shop, the producer would be maybe the manufacturer in Brazil, growing the raw materials, the coffee beans. The supplier would then buy from the producer, and they would supply to the service provider to the end user. So they would be providing to the coffee shop. So the supplier sells good stock. So that could be the maybe roasted, specialty roasted beans, or partly finished goods, raw materials. So maybe the coffee shop will roast the beans themselves. So they'll sell the coffee beans to the business. So the supplier directly is involved with the purchasing manager in the coffee shop. The service provider offers services to the business, for example, electricity, broadband, legal, and banking. I'm sure you can think of other services that a coffee shop would need to use. And then one of the most important would be a consumer. So the consumer buys the goods, they'll be buying the coffee if it's a coffee shop, or the services, they will be buying the broadband or paying for broadband if it's a service for their own personal use. So they're not selling it on to anybody else, unlike the producer and supplier. The consumer are using that product or service for their personal use. So remember to say own personal use in your definition. The government is a really important stakeholder because it's quite involved in the business in that it sets the rules and laws. It collects taxes, for example, VAT on each product you sell. And then on the profits, it would collect the corporation tax. But in return, that government provides a suitable climate for businesses to run. And finally, a really important stakeholder would be interest groups. So interest groups wouldn't really have a financial interest in the organization, but rather they lobby or negotiate decision makers on behalf of a group with a common interest. For example, maybe they work on behalf of employees. Maybe an employee is unhappy with their wage or salary or the hours they're working, and they will contact their trade union, which would be an interest group, and they would maybe negotiate or lobby on their behalf. Also maybe you want to build a coffee shop in an area of outstanding beauty. Maybe the local neighbours would lobby the government to say, no, they can't build on that green area. Maybe you have to build in town or something. So these are all the main people in business. These are the main stakeholders in business. And it's really important to have a clear understanding and use all the proper definitions for a stakeholder and a commercial business and a non-commercial business. when talking about people in the business world in Chapter 1, Unit 1 of the Leaving Certificate syllabus. So my name is Melanie. I provide classes here online. If you'd like to subscribe to my channel, that would be helpful. Or if you would like to have grinds, I have one-to-one business studies grinds available on Zoom, and all the information will be below. Thank you for listening to my video again, and I wish you all the best in your studies. Thank you.